Welcome to Surviving the Dream with your hosts, Casey Arnold
and David Conley.
We're here to talk to people who seem to have their dream job and find out, what did it take? Is it what they imagined? Is it worth it? How do they do it?
Join us as we uncover the secrets of surviving the dream.
Hello, Dave.
Hello, Casey. It's been too long. Too long. We've been dreaming too much, but have we been surviving it? I don't know. So
I think we have. I wore shorts yesterday in the middle of October. That's got to be somebody's dream.
that's a climate change denier's dream. That is not.
Going dark from the get-go. Okay. So today we have somebody on that we had on once, but there was a Spectrum device failure. And so everything we recorded...
I'm glad you've named and shamed. You didn't mess around there. You didn't say, well, it was an internet issue. You know, Spectrum, shame on you. Shame on you. The best podcast that no one ever heard.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Okay.
I could water it down, but it is what it is. Okay. It was a device failure. You want me to be vague? Everyone forget what I said. It was an unnamed device failure.
You have defamed.
But it was great. And so we're hoping to recreate that for you. Or, maybe like when we had the flight nurse on, maybe we'll just learn new stuff. You never know. So the universe, how about this, Dave? The universe intervened so we could spend more time with our guest and find out something unexpected.
Well, let's get the guest involved and see if
let's do it.
Remember any questions.
He is living one of, I think, the ultimate dreams, definitely a dream of mine, because he basically gets to just be himself and share things that interest him. And in return, people help facilitate more of that, and it builds a community. And I think that's a mega dream. He's a viral sensation. I know you love that term, Dave.
I did have a viral sensation once. I hope we got the right cream for it. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us again, Jacob. Hello.
Hello. I just got word that Spectrum has pulled sponsorship from the podcast. They reached out. They said we're no longer supporting this show. So
too bad.
You win some, you lose some. I'm really sorry about that, guys.
Yes. Hello,
AT&T. Better be worth it, Jacob.
AT&T, we'd love to talk to you.
AT&T, reach out now. I'm switching my services during the podcast. It's gonna so that hey guys, third time's the charm, right? Hi,
we're just going to try every service, and listeners can weigh in and tell us which is best.
Jacob, can you remember the questions we asked you last time and just go from there?
Sure. Here I've got it. Let's play it all back. No, I did want to say, so we had a phenomenal conversation. It was so good. We were really digging into some life stuff, meaning of life stuff. I ended and I was like, wow, that might have been one of the coolest podcast experiences I've ever had. And the world will never hear it. So
I think it broke the internet, quite frankly.
I guess so.
It was so good. No one could ever know.
No one could ever know. It definitely broke Spectrum. That's for sure.
So all the listeners now changing to AT&T.
Right. Yeah, they're all like, oh shit, I got to get off of this. Yeah. So to clarify for them, that's exactly what happened. We had this amazing talk, and then it shut down. Then we came back up, and I thought, oh, it's an outage. I can blame it on my town. I can blame it on like everybody. Nope, just this house having a complete device.
It was just you. It was
just me alone.
That's why I think the universe just wanted us to talk again. So let's see what it's all about. So
let's see what it's about.
Am I correct in saying that it's not just my projection of your dream, but you are like basically getting to be yourself and share the music and memories that you love? And people are like, great, thanks for doing that. Here's tickets to more of that. Also come hang out with us and just be you.
Yes. And since we spoke last, several things happened kind of in a row that really reinforced that, whether, the term viral sensation, which we kind of chuckled about, right? What has
How's
been
that going, by the way, your viral sensation?
It stings, it burns. I have to, yes, it's
in all the good ways.
Yeah, in all the good ways. Because I make content for your audience that is, 90s centric for the most part, 90s music, bands, grunge, alternative, but it really does span into, I think, just the alternative music scene as a whole, with kind of popping over to some metal sometimes over to, these genres here and there. and it somehow has made its way to every artist I've ever loved.
That is the coolest.
It continually shocks me. And I'll give you a perfect example. I just went to a festival called Best Friends Forever Festival in Las Vegas. And this was like early 2000s indie bands. This isn't even my normal category. This is, Get Up Kids and Rainer Maria and the Jesus Lizard and like all these, these are bands that you're sitting there and you're going, Bright Eyes was supposed to be on it. He dropped out, but it was all these like indie bands all weekend long in Vegas, a really, really cool festival. And I got to go because I was a guest of this band called Braid. Braid came out of Champaign, Illinois when I was living there. Much more, indie, underground, like has a loyal fan base, cult fan base. But I got invited to be their guest at this festival. And as I walked around, people just they kept stopping me and being like, oh my God, can I get a picture with you? My best friend won't believe it. I send him your videos all the time. And then I would go backstage and I would just be sitting there and the entire Get Up Kids group would like walk behind me and they'd be like, dude, we love your videos. So for me, it never stops being surreal because all I do is I talk about music I love and I also present it in a humorous way a lot of the time. But the reach that it has, it never really sinks in for me that all the bands, of course they are, because if I talk about them, somebody is sending it to them in their messages and they're seeing it. It just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. So I am absolutely living my dream, and teenage Jacob his head would explode.
Teenage Jacob is like, beyond our expectations, you're killing it so hard.
You're killing it so hard. And I never expected this to happen because I wasn't trying to make it happen. And that is the most unusual thing about social media success is when you're not trying it, it tends to be when it happens for some reason.
Right. So I remember you explain what happened, like when you made the crossover from like just your average Joe posting stuff to like, holy shit, we recognize you.
Yes. So you want me to give a quick rundown of how that happened?
Yeah. Tell us the whole story.
You've heard it all before, you two, but for your audience,
I'm going to make a cup of tea, listeners. But
I'll be right back.
I like it. I want to hear it again.
I've got to go handle, this viral sensation.
Okay. Before the story, I just want to clarify. I keep using viral sensation because viral sensation versus influencer are two very different things.
Yeah.
And so after your story, we can go into that.
Let's dig into that because there's a lot of titles that are applied to people in my position, right? Content creator, influencer, viral sensation. These are all the terms that people throw around when really you can distill it down to somebody who makes videos that people like. So, it was as somebody who moved to Los Angeles 23 years ago as a stage actor who wanted to work in film and TV. I just spent a very long time chasing that dream in other ways. Everything from, acting in student short films to a few auditions here and there. I had to get full-time work, so that always made it tricky. But I did the stand-up comedy.
Student short films. I've got to interrupt you there because I always found that student short films were always the longest shoots, right?
Totally.
What's that oxymoron? Oh, it's a short film, but we're gonna film probably about 23 hours.
Totally. So, it's because it's a bunch of people who don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, the learning curve takes a long time. You got to factor that in.
Learning curve. They were the longest shoots and you're the most uncomfortable you'll ever be, but you're looking over at your buddy who's trying to get this thing and you're like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I don't have to pee. No, I'm fine. No, I'll just go in my pants. It's okay.
I don't need food. It's fine. Also, Learning Curve would be a really good 90s band name.
Yeah,
it would be.
I just think, can't we do a long film like with Clint where you have short days?
Yeah, right. Let's switch it around.
Switch it around.
Yeah. So I did all those things and chased it, did the stand-up comedy. I wrote screenplays. I tried to get meetings, had meetings, had all the famous LA stories, which is like, your script is being read by insert powerful person's name here. Yeah. And you make the call home to your parents and you go, I might actually sell a script. And that same song and dance went on and on and on of just so close, but nothing ever really, getting to that next level.
I once went to a meeting about that, and said, I've called you in because you've got great coverage.
Totally.
Oh,
totally.
Okay, so you've not read the script. No, but you've got great coverage.
Yes.
That was my LA moment.
In 2011, I wrote a TV pilot, and I'm going to share what it is on your show because I don't care. It never got made.
Yeah.
I wrote this pilot in 2011. So mind you, things have come since that you might be like, oh, that sounds like that show, but this was a while ago.
Yeah.
So I wrote this TV pilot in 2011 called Shrinks, and my brother he was a counselor, therapist, and then he ended up going into education and teaching others to be therapists. But he would tell me these amazing stories about like things that happened when he was working in a much more like a psychiatry type ward of like things that were going on there. Like not these weren't like breaking confidentiality things. These were like, occurrences that he was like, yeah, it's crazy. And he was like, honestly, sometimes the more difficult part is the other therapists and the other counselors are just as messed up of people, like like that's the thing that he was experiencing. And so I wrote this pilot.
Basically, just gave the pitch that Bill Lawrence must have given when they sold Shrinking.
I mean, I've actually wrote something very similar because I used to work in mental health. And
there you go.
I totally agree that you can. I did write a scene in this. Now someone's going to steal it, but where it was like I went on as a nurse and I didn't know because it was non-uniform who were the patients and who were the staff.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of dysfunction that he was experiencing in his young life. And he was just like, yeah, it's really, I didn't expect this. So I crafted this pilot, not to get too much in the weeds on this, but I crafted this pilot that was about three brothers that became therapists together. They ran a clinic together and they represented Freud's id, ego, and superego. So each one had the traits of like, one was absolutely just unbridled, did whatever the hell he wanted and used his therapy to get away with it. Anyway, so I wrote this pilot and it made its way around. And I heard from the inside that these people were like, they love it. They think it's brilliant. And then they said this to the person. They said, we love it. This is such a great pilot. Who is he? Who's the writer? And they said, oh, he's unknown. He doesn't really have representation. And they said, oh, well, then we're not interested.
Wow.
So that was a big moment for me in 2011 where I was like, so if the writing is good and they love it, but I'm nobody to them, then they don't care. And
I thought there's this so many times.
That's the truth. But also part of it is the learning curve though, right? Because then they're like, oh, they're going to come in, they're going to not know. And part of it is just the joy of Hollywood. My 7-year-old cousin asked me the other day what I do for a living. I was talking about work and she's like, what do you do again? I'm like, oh, I write movies and TV shows. And she's like what? I'm like, oh, she actually knows some of the stuff I've seen. I'm like, oh, like those Barbie movies you watch and that Lego show. And she's like, what else? What else? I'm like, I don't have enough credits to impress my 7-year-old cousin. I'm in trouble.
Right. Load up IMDb, okay?
I'll tell you a quick story from the executive point of view. I was once had dinner with an executive and she said, I'm sorry, I'm late. We just got major problems on this script. We're now 3 years in and $4 million in on the script. And she said, the problem is, so she basically said that we paid these two writers $1 million and they went to Hawaii. And they a year later, they handed in a piece of shit. So they went, so they paid another writer who was even higher up on the total, 1.5 million. And it went on. And she said, what's a shame is the first draft was so good. And I said, well, who wrote the first draft? Because, well, they were nobodies. But so we gave them $100,000 and told them to go away. And it's just, but it was there.
Yeah.
Why don't you just go back to that first draft? And she looked at me like, not compute.
Yeah, like I don't think you understand. And that's what's so ass backwards about the whole industry is it's all built on and then you have these things like Stranger Things happen, right? Where it's like these guys try over and over and over and over again, and everybody says no because they're nobodies. And then finally you hear those stories, and you're like, why couldn't that have been me? Why couldn't they have?
Now that you're the guy that people recognize, now you can write stuff. It doesn't even have to be the same thing. You're like, oh, how many followers do you have?
Totally.
Interesting. Tell us about this other thing you do.
I thought about it. I was like, I probably should get back into comedy. One, I'd get to jump ahead on a lot of sets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, if I wrote a script and somebody was like, how many social media followers does he have? They'd probably let me go through to the next level at least.
Yeah.
You know the story of ER?
Wait, but we're skipping.
Hold on. We're going to get back to this. I'm going to tell this story. If I'm going to
I want to hear the story of ER. I want to hear the story.
It's not a long story, but it took 25 years for that pilot to hit the screen. And
Jesus.
it all happened because of Jurassic Park.
Really?
What does Jurassic Park have to do with ER?
It's the same writer. Michael Crichton wrote Jurassic Park, and they suddenly went, can you
what
now
else
make
do
my
you have?
pilot? They made ER because he wrote Jurassic Park. And it had taken 25 years for that to hit the screen.
This whole industry is about surviving the dream.
Yeah,
I know.
Okay,
it really is.
So you started out, you had comedy, you had all these shorts, you were acting, you were writing.
Scripts. Yeah. So to obviously this was a tangent that we didn't expect. It was industry related. So I spent a lot of time obviously trying to make my way after the Shrinks debacle, because I was like, well, clearly I need to become a name somehow. So I continued to make, YouTube web series and then apps would launch like Vine, and I would try so hard to use my comedy, use my writing, and really create content to put out there in the world. And nothing ever really went anywhere. Not to shit talk the work that I did with the group of people. We did this web series called Good Cops. It was very good. It was very fun. It was slapstick. We wore those cop sunglasses and the fake mustaches, and we made a couple web series, and we got picked up by this company at the time called Machinima, which was focused on video gaming content, and we worked with them. And then we made a web series that was a Western called Tumbleweed, which was based on the video game Red Dead Redemption, and it was very funny and very well received on YouTube. We put so much time and energy and blood, sweat, and tears in these projects, and on the other end of it, it just wasn't ever taking any of our lives to the next level. And then it leads us finally to making a feature film called I Had a Bloody Good Time at House Harker, which is a vampire comedy that's on Amazon Prime. Took us 3 years to make it. And even with the loyal cult following that we had from that, it just never did the thing that people want to happen when you're working like that, right? You want the thing that you sell the movie and then it sets you up to keep doing it on and on and on. So I everything I was putting out in the world had this please notice me energy, right? Like anything I did independently on Vine or YouTube or anything, I wanted people to see me. And this is where it gets interesting, is when TikTok came around, this was in 2021. We're in lockdown. It's early. And people are saying to me, you should make a TikTok. And I thought, I'm too old for this. It had a reputation. It had a reputation from 2019 to 2020 as just the young kids shaking their asses app, right? Remember that? That's all anybody thought of it was. And I was like, I don't know if this is for me. But I just decided on a whim to sign up out of boredom during the lockdown. And at first I was just making dumb, silly videos. I had a thing that I was doing called Motorcycle Ninjas. And basically I was out with my son, who was pretty young at the time, and he was dressed as a ninja on a little scooter. And we were laughing about the idea of trying to be stealthy, but you were on a noisy vehicle. And so we created this like fake 80s show called Motorcycle Ninjas, where it was like the ninjas are about to attack the bad guys, but they can always hear the motorcycles coming. So they know to, anyway, it was very stupid, but I had 20 followers on there. I was doing sketches, whatever. And then it comes this day where I'm just sitting there in my back patio, and a friend of mine that I knew through stand-up comedy had passed away. He was 31 at the time. He was very young. And I was just mourning his loss. And he and I were big music nerds, and we loved Metallica and metal and Slayer. And, we would like geek out over that. So I was just playing music, and I was very emotional. I was very raw that day. And then Smells Like Teen Spirit comes on because I'm just on a random playlist. And I was like, oh man, I remember when I turned on MTV and I saw this like debut video, and it just changed everything. So I grabbed my app and I open it up and I record myself talking to myself with a 30-second pre-recorded audio that they had of Smells Like Teen Spirit. And I'm going back and forth like this, talking to myself. And when Kurt Cobain's voice comes in, I'm reacting with my rubber face of like shock, And then I play the video back, and I see that because I don't know how to use it very well, the audio, if you pre-select it while recording it, does not record your speaking voice. So I'm looking at it and I'm going, oh my God, I'm like a silent film actor, just talking to myself going, like this, like with my wide-eyed expressions. Yeah. And so I decide to type these captions of me speaking like it's like a, silent film with the music being the star and me talking behind it. I don't publish it. I put the app in my pocket. The next morning I wake up. I open up TikTok before work. It says, you have this unpublished video. I hover over the delete button and then I'm like, who cares? I have 23 followers. So I hit publish, I go to work and I'm at lunch and it's in the 140,000 range of views. And I'm like, this is wild. By that evening, it's 300,000. By that night, it was 1 million. Whoa. The next morning, I'm like, I wonder if, lightning can strike twice. I wonder if I can do it again. Because the followers are just going through the roof on this thing. And I think of another song that had a very specific moment, because that's what I was trying to get to, which is when you're a teenager and a piece of music has that moment that you go, well, you're kind of like, I didn't expect that. And it's stirring up so many emotions and feelings inside of me. And this was Radiohead's Creep, which famously people have said, that's not even their best song. They went on to do so many other great pieces of music. And I'm like, I know, but young teenage Jacob didn't know what they would do. I'm just in a moment in time. And here comes that sound that Johnny Greenwood makes on his guitar, that, and it stirs me up. I make the video about that sound. And again, it goes to 1 million. And I'm like, I've clearly tapped into the pulse of something that everybody can relate to, especially my generation. So then 2 weeks in, I make a Rage Against the Machine one. Tom Morello from Rage sees it. He tweets it out when it was still Twitter and not X. It gets seen by so many people. And then Spin Magazine writes this online article that says, this guy perfectly, communicates what it was like hearing music in the 90s. And this was the moment that I was like, I think I'm onto something. And it was my wife who told me. She said, after I'd been doing it for a couple months, I had loaded up a bunch of old Vine videos. And she said, don't take this the wrong way, but she said, when you see the old Vine videos, there's a desperation on your face. There's like a look at me. Mm-hmm. And she goes, but the person you are when you make these videos is just you. She's like, there's no like, look at me, desperation, I need you to see me energy at all. You're just being yourself. And so that combined with talking about music and things that people love and somehow being able to strip away any showmanship, which as a stage musical actor, Mr. Jazz Hands, it's not easy to break down and just be yourself on an app when the camera's held, right in front of your face. But somehow I am. And I think some people look at it and they go, can this guy really be smiley and goofy like this all the time? Sadly, yes. Sadly, the person that you hang out with in person is the guy from the videos. And that's how I got here.
And how many videos do you make a week now?
That part's been more challenging. In the early days, I was really going after it because I was like, I gotta ride this wave. But being a father, somebody who has, I do have a full-time job, just to be clear. This part of living my dream life is great, concerts and a little extra income here and there and meeting my idols. But I do have a full-time job. And I found that as time goes on, it's tricky sometimes to always carve out hours to put something together. But I would say on average, I'm putting about 4 videos a week is the best I can do, probably about 4 a week.
And they get millions of views.
Not anymore. So I would say I have an audience of, 250,000 on TikTok, 250,000 on Instagram. YouTube's at the 50K, 60K mark. Facebook, I've just started bringing it over to the boomer audience.
This is so embarrassing. I don't know why we got this guy on.
I know.
I've got at least 50 fans.
Yeah. Because you're not doing the influencer thing, that you're selling stuff and you're just sticking to things that interest you and your community. Because I remember you said before you'd had the opportunity to sell things, but if they weren't things that resonated with you, you weren't just doing it for the money.
I could. There are peers of mine, people my same age, that are blowing up, and good for them. I see efforts being made in those worlds where they're capitalizing on, whether it's making sure to make 4 videos a day about nothing really. You know what I mean? Like, to me, sitting there and making a video where you're just, I don't know, you just say an offhand thing, and then the song plays. I look at those and I go, well, it's very low effort, and it's very basic. And so if I was to do that 4 times a day, and then I was to, every time somebody came to me and said, hey, are you willing to collaborate? Do you want to make this video? Do you want to jump on my channel? Whatever. If I did those, if my life was dedicated to this and I just wanted to like sell products and market, I'm sure I could be in those upper echelon of millions of followers and living the dream in that way. But there's just a little bit of purity that I'm trying to hold on to here, of just like, let it be the thing, make the things that you love and enjoy, do it for that. Don't sell out in some ways.
My fellow idealist. Hello.
I know.
I have a personal question though.
Okay.
So do you feel like getting to basically be yourself and put that out there over and over and like be accepted by all of these strangers without having to like sell like you had been before, like we all have done before? Mm-hmm. Has that shifted you at all as a person?
Yes. And not to go, all right, I'm going to go deep.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm going to go deep. Ever since I was a teenager, I have always felt a sense of melancholy. And like most comedic people, the Robin Williamses, the Jim Carreys, my highs are matched with lows. As high and big and broad as I can be, I can get that dark. And that person is not presented on social media, because who wants to watch, a guy just combating his demons? But most of my adult life, especially after moving to LA and chasing the entertainment dream, I felt a real lack of self-worth and struggled with depression very badly. And it drove me to constantly kind of, communicate to my spouse and even my friends and look at them and be like, so you guys don't just like sometimes want to die, And
sorry, I'm laughing because I've had those moments too.
No, I'm laughing about it too. But I mean, you look at people around you and you go like, so you don't just like wake up sometimes and be like, I'd rather just be dead right now. And you find that a lot of people look at you and they go, no, do you? And I'm like, yeah. There's always a little guy back there. He's always like, it'd be better if just all this was just not even a problem anymore. And we just cut out early. And not, apologize if that's dark subject material, but I have felt that for so long. And when this happened, after the initial shock and after the initial 6 months of, I need to be chasing an algorithm and I need to make this a career. And once I got over all that shit, once I got that out of my head, I get to give gifts to people every day. And sometimes people say negative things and that hurts, but I get messages that say, hey, my father passed away this year and your videos got me through. Aww. My friend died of cancer, and our favorite thing that we used to do is listen to Smashing Pumpkins. And now every time I watch your video, I'm reminded of him and thank you. I get these messages from people all the time. And what shifted in me with this is that everything that I wanted before was I wanted financial gain. I wanted fame. I wanted people to know who I was. And I think that really didn't help that low and that depression and that voice in the back of my head, because who's ever going to check that box? You hear it all the time from these big celebrities. They go, once you get there, it's never enough. You never, the biggest stars in the world are like, you don't get the fame and the success and the money and just go like, I'm completely content. But something happened when I was able to accept what this is. And that was every day is almost like giving somebody a Christmas gift or a birthday gift. It's like you're giving things. And sometimes people go, fuck you, I don't want it. Or this gift sucks. Or like their first album was better, whatever. You get that sometimes. But overall, this world is really grateful to have somebody who is sharing stuff that they love And I think I told you guys this before on the previous podcast, but I think it's worth sharing. There is this book by an author who's since passed on named Brenda Euland, and she wrote a book called If You Want to Write. And she tells a story about how Vincent van Gogh would write letters to his brother while he was starting out. And they were many, many cities away. And he was writing this letter, and in it to his brother, he said, "Oh, the sky here at night is absolutely beautiful. I need to draw it for you." So he draws the sky on the bottom of this letter and sends it to his brother. And Brenda points out, she says, "That is art. That is art because the only goal was he saw something beautiful and wanted to share it with his brother. There was no financial gain. There was no attention or fame. It was somebody that he loves. He wanted to communicate something that he saw that was beautiful." And I have held on to that forever, and it didn't click until this chapter of my life began, which is when you find yourself needing to create things, needing to make art, needing to do something because you love it and you want other people to see just how great it is. That simple action really does quell so much of those feelings of lack of self-worth or depression or wanting to die. Am I healed from it? No. But does this guy talk a little less in my head nowadays? Yes.
What's it like when you're meeting with your heroes, your icons?
Yeah.
Do you ever have conversations like that with them? I mean,
not. I've had a couple musicians on my podcast, and we've gotten some places of depth here and there. I would say we touch on it, but part of me wonders, like I think those episodes people respond and they go, "Oh, I loved hearing this life thing that you talked about with Jeff Rickley from Thursday," or, whatever these musicians, when they do get a little bit more raw and vulnerable with me. But I haven't really had a chance to talk about that with artists like I wish I could.
Well, because I wonder if that, I was a grunge girl too, and I had a lot of the the emo, depresso feelings also. And that music really resonates with that. And I have to imagine the people creating that music also have those feelings, and the way they're getting it out is through the music. It would be interesting to know if they would be comfortable opening up about that stuff. But I guess go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'm nervous a lot. There are times that I want to make videos a lot more about this. You know what I mean? There's times that I want to talk a little bit about mental health and my own personal journey, and I chicken out sometimes because people rely on me so much as the force for good, the positive guy, right? The happy-go-lucky guy, that you get a little nervous sometimes about, do I get vulnerable and let people know like what I've gone through or what I've experienced, or will people receive that and be like, hey, stop it. I rely on you to have a leaf blower blow in your face and talk about how music rocks. I don't need you to be making me cry. And so
maybe you just have the ratings before the videos of like, if you're feeling happy, keep watching. If you want something different, keep watching.
Rated M for music and D for depressing. So
and I think it's all right, isn't it? I mean, we obviously know a lot of artists, and I'm using that word generically.
Yeah, sure.
They have a private life, and now there's some things I don't want to share with the rest of the world. I mean, I kind of feel my responsibility as a comedian, especially when I'm on the road. Is like, these guys have spent $15 probably to get into the club. They've got 2-drink minimum. They're paying for parking. It's their Friday night. I might be feeling like shit, but I've got to give them a good night, right?
Totally.
So I think we have that.
Agreed.
Artists, that we need to do that, and I think that's kind of important as well. I personally get a little bit trouble sometimes when I'm seeing other comedians go up there. I'm going to be my authentic self, and they go up there and they go, "God, could you not do that?"
Right. No, it's very well said, David, because that's what keeps me from doing it. Is that there's a sense of me that I have to retain, and also authenticity. It can be a gift to people and being yourself. Yeah. But people watch movies and TV and go see comedy clubs because they kind of need a break.
Right.
And they need some entertainment. And that's another reason why, when it comes to a lot of these hot button political issues and things that people get really worked up on, I rarely delve into them because, of course, I have my own passionate feelings of that. But if you were to turn on Comedy Central back in the day, or you were to turn on MTV back in the day, would you suddenly want somebody to just like get up in your face and be like, it's time to talk about blah, 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 blah. You'd be like, I turned on MTV to watch music. I need a break from all that out there. So I often feel like that entertainment and being a comedian or somebody who is inspiring people, it's a job, and your job is to bring a little levity and light and humor. And there are already out there the comedians in the world like the Anthony Jeselniks that will go dark and go fucked up. And there's the catharsis of that. They'll say the controversial thing. Or then there's the person over here who's raw and says the meaty, hot button topic. But a lot of times, don't you just want to see somebody just make you laugh? And so that's what keeps me in my...
Yeah. I also think it... Oh,
I was just going to say, I remember talking to someone who worked in finance actually, and he was trying to justify what he was doing. Like, I help people basically live their dream by getting their own house or whatever. And I said, I at the time I was just purely doing stand up, and I said, God, I don't really know how I can justify my existence. And he said, well, and he said something really nice, which I remained with me. He said, well, I'm kind of jealous. He says, because you make people happy. I went, what?
Yeah.
Oh, I hadn't thought of it like that. And I thought that is kind of a profound thing to say, because I was thinking, I'm just going up there, I'm telling jokes, and I'm going home going, what was that?
Right. And I can relate.
Well, and also we do go through the things, but it's like if you talk about it when you're still too deep in it, right? Like when you're in the raw moment, that's when you're like bringing it to people. But if you get over the other side where you're like, oh, wait, here's the joke in it. You're still sharing it with people and being yourself, but you're like delivering it to them on the other side when it can just be a shared laugh. When somebody's broken up with you like an hour before, that's not the time to get on stage and be like, you guys, I know I'm here to tell you jokes because but I got, you're like, no, talk to me in like a month when you're going to make jokes about how pathetic you are right now. And then we can all have a good laugh and move on with our night.
Comedy is tragedy plus a bit of time, isn't
it?
Right.
Yep. The expression is true. And you guys know, as I know, the best at it, the best comedians in the world, they'll convince you that this is happening live and real in the moment and it's visceral and it's raw. But then you'll go see them again a week later and they're doing it again. And so that what they've honed, it is a job, it is a career, it is a skill. And people don't realize when you see these videos of somebody getting heckled and they're being so sharp and they know exactly what to say. It's like, what makes you think that they haven't gotten that same drunk asshole about 12 times?
Yep.
Or what makes you think they haven't dealt with a bridal shower with a drunk girl before? This is par for the course. This is what happens when you're a comedian and you get really fucking good at drilling in and making the whole crowd believe that they are witnessing something happening for the first time
in the moment. Also in comedy time, the other day is like any time between like 5 minutes ago and birth.
Totally.
I think in Britain, they actually review comedians like they review theatre and movies.
Yeah.
There's I think Eddie Izzard got a review going, he's the best improvised comic in England. And another comic, I remember writing going, I wish they'd just tell the truth and say, he's the best comic who makes it look like he's improvising because he's doing the same set every night. And that's part of it, isn't it? You're fooling the audience going, I'm making this up. I'm riffing.
Guys, I can't believe it. I didn't know what I was going to say on stage.
This just came to me. But sometimes it does just come to you, right? And then you're like, oh, that was good. Let me remember that and continue to use that as if it just came to me, right?
Sometimes it comes to you and you go, I shouldn't have said that.
I should not have said that.
Live and learn.
That's why anybody, when we all did comedy, still doing comedy or whatever, but when young people or new comics come into your life, and when I was starting, the older comics, the more skilled ones always said, the only way to do this is to do it go to a mic and do it over and over again. There is no way you get to be a good comedian by writing a bunch of really good jokes, standing in front of your mirror and getting really good at reciting a monologue. Nuh-uh. You got to go to a room full of people and you got to feel that moment. And exactly what you said is something comes to you in the moment and it works, or something comes in your moment and it doesn't. And you're just getting better at deciding which and which. And then you're building your hour and you're building your set and you're making people believe, wow, he's just going with the flow up there. You know,
so when you're doing
comedy.
When you're doing your videos just for your phone, right? Do you feel like you've done enough stand up that's playing into the sense of what will land or not? Because I've seen some influencers do stand up and I'm like, it is not the same as your like you are imagining things happening in your phone when you're doing it. But yeah, on stage, like people laugh or they don't. There's no mystery of whether or not it's working.
No mystery. There's no mystery. And yes, I often tell people one of the crazy things like we set up, which is I came to be an actor. I wrote screenplays. I did stand-up comedy. I made web series. It was like when the TikTok thing happened for me, it was like I took all 4 of those things that I'd spent my 10,000 hours on and put them into 1 minute format. And then it was like, oh, I am using all the things that I spent time for, because my videos require a little bit of screenwriting knowledge, right? Which is the setup, where we are, the twist, and then we're out. So that's a writing thing. And then the acting is like, well, I know that my expressions, I have to communicate something with just my face, my eyes in this video. And then with a bit, with a joke, you go, well, where's the hook? Where am I going to get them? And so all of those things were in the videos. And so it's funny because I think that because I went in the music way, that was where it was unexpected, right? Because nobody's sitting around and going, hey, let's listen to Pearl Jam and laugh our asses off. Nobody's like, turn on Deftones for a good laugh, for good comedy. No, not at all. But
well, they are now.
They are now. I know. Sometimes people will say this. They go, damn you. Now every time I hear this song, I think of your face getting the fan or whatever. Now I think of you. And I'm like, you're welcome. But I think that was what was the different thing that I couldn't have expected, which is the shared human experience, right? We were all once 14, 15, 16, listening to a band, having it affect us. And then if you were to go and hang out with a friend later and be like, man, and then when the guitar, and he's like, what? And the other guy would be like, yeah. And you'd have this like moment, but how do you communicate that to people? You can only do it if you're playing the song. It's kind of like something out of a cliche comedy movie where there's a guitar solo and there's a guy just like losing his mind and we're all laughing at how funny that is. And it was like, once I landed in this realm where I was like, well, I could communicate what it was like to hear these songs or experience music. And I had no idea that the world was full of us. There were just tons of us out there. And that's been fun.
Yeah, you tapped into community. It's like all of the dreams you had, the fact that you remained persistent made you like uniquely qualified in this moment in time, in this space.
Yeah.
And I guess because you have a day job also, it kind of does allow you to do this just for fun.
Yes.
Which I think is also a dream, right? Like you'd like your job, it pays your bills. So you get to just be creative for the sake of being creative, and you get to be yourself and have community of like-minded people. I mean, you're checking a lot of dream boxes.
And with that summation, I think we've got to admit that we are coming to the end of this podcast.
Yeah, I know.
I thought Casey's going to come out with a question there, and we're going to
keep going.
I do have more to say, but I suppose we have to respect time.
It went on for 3 hours. I don't even want to reference it, but it happened. All right, not us. It involved somebody who is running for it. Whatever. Anyway, now we're going to move to questions.
Okay, I love it.
No wrong answers. No wrong answers.
Okay.
It's the same questions we give every guest, which is kind of fascinating. I want to know, what would you do if you won the lottery, the big one?
I would take care of my mother and father first. I would make sure that they're okay with their end of life years, very comfortable, good home, debts paid off. They were just always so supportive of my dreams. I never had parents that were like, you want to move to LA and be an actor? Well, you need to get a real job. Never. They were always just like, follow your dreams. So I really owe a huge debt to them. But for me, after I take care of mom and dad, it's gonna be all about world travel. I want to see it all. I want to go to the pyramids. I want to go to Japan. I want to go every place that you see that you wish you could go to. And I would spend a lot of time doing that.
Wonderful.
with a killer soundtrack. No less.
With a killer soundtrack.
All right. I want to know what is your go-to snack now, and what would teenage Jacob's go-to snack have been while he was listening to all these albums?
I can tell you that easily. So now I am a savory guy. So I'm not a sweets guy. So it's all about the chips and dips, the chips and salsas. I love like a spinach and artichoke dip with, some crackers, charcuterie, things like that. I'm just a savory guy. And that's definitely like you sit down in front of a movie, a TV show, listen to music, chips and dips. When I was a kid, I became famous amongst my friend group for loving the Little Debbie's oatmeal cream pie. So much so that I wrote a song called Oatmeal Cream Pie that to this day is my most successful song. And what I mean is I wrote it when I was 13 joking, and I wrote in 1 minute, and I would play it for friends, and they were like, it would follow me. I would go to college, and somebody would be like, play him Oatmeal Cream Pie. And then one day I recorded it, and it was like everywhere I would go, somebody would be like, have you played the Oatmeal Cream Pie yet? And this is one of these silly songs, but that's how much of a snack, how much that snack was a part of my life. And the people used to give them to me constantly because of that song. And now I can't eat one because I've had way too many.
I kind of feel like we need the hook of the song at the very least, not to put you on the spot.
Yeah. No, I wish I had my guitar with me, but yeah, it goes. So it has this like kind of palm muted on acoustic guitar, whatever. And then the chorus goes, oatmeal cream pie. Why? Oatmeal cream pie. I almost died. Oatmeal cream pie. Oatmeal cream pie. Oatmeal cream pie. Yeah. Oatmeal cream pie. Oatmeal cream pie. I want you so bad. It's a hit. I wrote it when I was 13 as I was kidding, but that truly shows how pop music and like really dumb melodies will just like earworm and stay with you forever.
Yeah, so. I guess you don't want people throwing those at you on stage. That could hurt.
No more oatmeal cream pies. Not to mention also that part of that phrase has become synonymous with quite a dirty sex act. So that didn't help as I got older. So anyway. Yeah,
I've not heard that.
Apologies.
I'll have to Google that later, maybe.
Not the oatmeal part. Not the oatmeal part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Don't want to get a viral sensation with that one. So, Jacob, what is your favorite animal and why?
I'm going to go with an elephant. An elephant is just a fascinating. It's just a giant, leathery body beast that when you look at him, you go, do you know everything? Do you know all the secrets of the universe? The way they just move. And I've always thought elephants were phenomenal creatures.
They are epic. Also, I've been lucky enough to see them in person, and the fact that they can be such ginormous beasts, but still like jump around and be like playful is very
it's
impressive.
Just amazing. Yeah, I've only ever seen one in a zoo, so I've never been like up close and personal hands on an elephant.
Add it to the travel list when you win the lottery.
Yeah.
Okay, final question. If we really knew you, Jacob, what would we know about you?
We touched on it a little bit before about the sadness that is within. You would know that there is you would know that I'm a sensitive person. I'm a very sensitive and empathic. I absorb emotions like crazy. So if I have two friends and they're fighting, I feel bad and I absorb it. And if somebody, I absorb energies around me in a way that's almost like completely debilitating, to where I've had to like leave a place because I'm like, because I feel like a walking sponge. And I've witnessed that in my children, and I'm kind of like, I'm sorry that I passed that on to you, because it is a hard life feeling so much. It feels like the world is a lot of the time. I just feel a lot. So that would, if you knew me really well, you'd be like, yeah, be careful about emoting around Jacob.
Try and stuff your feelings down when you're with Jacob, and I guess the music helps with that. Is that part of what brought the music into your life?
It does. It really helps. I have a difficulty in silence. When I sleep, I have white noise, fans, things like that. I love music filling quiet space when I drive. And when I'm sitting in silence for too long, I'm always like, no, no. This is too much. It's too much. Jacob's brain is by himself. He's on his own, and it's exhausting. Not that you can't be emotional around me, and many of my friends can be, but boy, oh boy, I will definitely feel everything that you share with me. So
I think that is a beautiful thing. Thank you for coming on again. I want to say we didn't get to mention your band Temple of the Dads. Yes. So if people have a chance to go and see that.
Yes, we have several shows coming up. We're on Instagram at Temple of the Dads, and we always post, the shows around the Los Angeles area, basically. And we do 90s covers. I'm the lead singer and guitarist, and we are a blast. I adore my 90s cover band. They're the best dudes ever.
Can't wait to come and check you out in person.
I
Yes.
look forward to that. I've got to follow somebody else on Instagram now. Excellent. I'll put that down.
Yes.
Brilliant.
And you know what? We did not repeat the first one, but I will say I enjoyed you again.
Yeah, I enjoyed you guys again as well.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. Hope everybody listening
Same time next week. Same time next week.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what Spectrum has to say about it.
I was going to say, we'll see which internet provider will allow this to happen.
I love the Spectrum bet. No, it was really cool. To your audience, this was a completely different direction. We touched on some similar notes, but we got to, with you guys, I don't know, I just get so vulnerable. What is it about David and Casey? I feel like sharing.
Welcome to therapy time with David and Casey.
Totally.
Thank you, everybody, for being here with us.
Thank you.
Quick shout out to Mike Nicholas for being our tech savior, and Carmen Sclafani, also known as Wiser Time. Thanks for our music, and thank you all for listening.